Hey everybody, what is up? Welcome back to Sabercomics, your place for all things review. And welcome back to my Death Battle First Impressions video. Yes, Death Battle has returned from a brief hiatus, and now for the first time in 10 years, what we've all been requesting and demanded they do since the beginning, we finally have a Halloween-themed episode. Thank you, God. And it's with two returning franchises, and the best part of all, it is featuring my favorite Halloween creatures of all time, the werewolf. So this is going to be a special episode. Of course, I'm talking about Saberwolf versus John, in case the title wasn't clear or me subtly referencing it. So this, of course, is going to be completely unscripted because I just couldn't put into a page on how fantastic this episode was. It's arguably now in the top 5. Hell, maybe by the end of this season, when I go back and look at all of these 2D sprite fights in order, maybe it'll be higher. You never know. So let's just go ahead and waste no time and diving deep into this episode. Alright, so first thing I want to point out is the voice acting. Occasionally, when it comes to the werewolves, usually they don't really have a lot of human-esque dialogue. They are essentially mindless rabid beasts. They act like dogs. So therefore, their capacity to speak is somewhat either limited or almost non-existent, but we have seen cases where werewolves actually can communicate and still maintain that human-like capacity to give out dialogue, speech, or what have you, even if it's intelligent or if it's somewhat, like an infant learning its first words. So what I love off here is that we actually did get actors to portray these two characters. One was, of course, a returning actor who, unfortunately, is not winning his first death battle anytime soon, sadly, portraying the mindless beast werewolf I've grown up with Saberwolf, and then with a new actor to death battle who's portraying John, who is essentially a cognitive werewolf who chooses to still fight his werewolf instincts and maintain his human ones. And I think that made this episode a bit extra special because arguably the whole episode was more focused on John and him trying to prove that he's not like Saberwolf. He can fight and control his instincts, but when the chips are down, he will let the werewolf side of him take over for just the briefest moments. I also really love how it kind of was how people, well, essentially almost like looking into a mirror, so to speak, where this is probably how people view John in the Darkstalkers universe, whereas with Saberwolf, it's exactly how we know him. So that was a nice touch there. I really thought these actors did a great job embracing these tragic werewolf figures, one who is just a poor beast who can't control it and wants to find a cure, and the other one who is completely misunderstood and is fighting the monster within inside of him. I love those type of characters in monster movies, so it really was somewhat familiar to me. And again, I can't describe how awesome that was, so big props to them. And the howls were actually very, very well done. So, again, nice touch. The track for this episode was lit as fuck. I had so much fun with it, and the best part about it is that for the first time since Esdeath vs. Grey, it has vocals, it has lyrics, and very much like KO Computer, it has metal in it, which was super awesome. Though I'm not really the biggest metal fanatic, that's one genre of music that I'm not that much of a fan of, but whenever a track is able to hold off and go the cliched metal song route, where it's just completely headbanging, then it gets extra brownie points in my opinion, because I still like the combination of metal music with instruments, of course, so that was really nice, and I really, really loved this track. It fit the fight so thematically, and it didn't just feel like thin wallpaper music. No, it actually had a bit of character in it, and I'm very excited to go listen to the track by itself because I really think that this is most definitely going to be in my top 5 favorite tracks of this season. So congrats to either you, Brandon, or Theirwolf, whoever did it. Okay, now let's talk about the animation. Ho 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 ho! Oh my god, I don't know how Lewis continues to do it. I really don't, because throughout the season there have been phenomenal sprite fights, arguably the best we've ever had, and yet somehow Lewis and his team just kill it. Again, it's just a talent that they have. But also, man, my buddy John, the storyboarder, managed to deliver, arguably, in my opinion, his top 3 best boards, because he clearly went all out with the fact that these are 2 animalistic creatures that are not human, so therefore they do a lot of clawing, slashing, biting, they have projectiles, they interact with the environment a certain way, and essentially when the chips are down and they're backed into a corner, they will let their rapid sides kick in. And let me tell you something, John actually managed to tell me that the storyboarding process for the death scene was going to be brutal. And at the time, I didn't know how brutal he was going to do it. All he said was that it was going to be on the level, if not surpassing, Samurai Jack versus Afro Samurai. And that put a smile on my face, because I love that fucking episode. And oh boy, did he fucking deliver, because I have never been so happy to see such a brutal death like this in quite some time. And bear in mind, I am a sick bastard who has seen it all in terms of gore. So whenever Death Battle experiments and gives me something new, I immediately light up like a Christmas tree, because if there's one kind of death or kind of maneuvers that I love, it's when a rabid animal, or a werewolf in this case, goes for the intestines, and instead of just having Saberwolf go for John's intestines, no, he actually goes the extra step and strangles him with it. I swear to God, guys, I know this may sound a little fucked up, but I could not stop laughing and smiling because it was so awesome. Again, I apologize. But yes, I also love the end death too, because even though it sucks that I voted for Saberwolf, he still went out in a brutal as fuck manner. Just having him be torn to shreds, having his head be ripped off, and then having him being pulled away by John as he's trying to get away from him, that was all just a nice touch. The other stuff that I loved was the environment, them fighting in a back alley, and then it being set on fire, the flaming bats that Saberwolf summons and throws at John, John summoning that giant flame dragon, them going through the walls, them fighting in the cemetery, the blood on the cemetery, and that little bit at the end where when John is trying to fight back, he looks up into the sky, he sees the red blood moon, and when he finally sees it again, he gives into his rabid side, and everything goes gray. The only colors on screen are gray and red. Those are my favorite type of shots in movie. In fact, it's something that I really loved seeing in the movie Sin City. So that was a very nice touch here, and in the end, it was arguably my favorite Halloween-themed animation I've seen since Lucy vs. Carnage, and that fight I never thought they would top. But finally, here we are. Well, everybody, I don't know what to say that already hasn't been said throughout this whole video. I loved this episode. It was well worth the wait. I'm so happy that they did release it on Halloween for first members, even though they probably should have released it on Halloween for everybody, considering that it's coming out now for YouTube on the 1st, and, well, it's not Halloween anymore, it's the Day of the Dead. Still, what have you, I really don't care. But I loved this fight as a whole. I think it had everything that I've been wanting in an episode close to the end. And in my opinion, this should have been the penultimate episode. But regardless of that, I just can't say anything more than what I've already have said. It had amazing voice acting, phenomenal music, and fantastic animations. It was all very well done. It's understandably going to be a fan favorite of mine just because around this time we as Halloweeners celebrate this kind of stuff. So this is probably going to be something that I watch every Halloween as part of my movie-themed Halloween traditions. So thank you so much to everyone who worked on this. I'm going to go ahead and give this a solid A.